See, Wayne is not going to be here, so why don't we get a motion to approve the minutes of our last meeting? Supervisor from Thurman, seconded by the supervisor from up north, Brant Lake, Horicon. Ed, I think, had a couple of words.
I had a couple of things. First of all, I'd like to just thank Dennis and Bob Blaze, along with other officials, for assisting in the filming of the movie The Radiant Girls. That was our first experience in working collectively on a motion picture, and the time schedule kept changing for St. George and the village and the city on when they were going to be shooting. So I really appreciate the effort of one day they were going to close down a short street. Turned out to be 2 days later. Also the courthouse, which was used, they really took over the courthouse. They had a fog machine going on, which permeated through the entire, nothing was damaged, John, from the documents up there. But it really took a collective effort to get it done. We're hoping to have the premiere of the movie at the Wood Theater. That probably will be sometime next year. But that really puts us into an area that we'd like to explore, is the creation of a film commission, which would be an advisory group, non-paying group, so that we can be part of the Capital Region group, which gets leads similar to economic development leads for potential inquiries for various sites. We have a tremendous diversity in our county, as our tourism people will tell us, and we know, from the urban setting in the city to the suburbs, to the beautiful areas in the Adirondack areas there. So I think that that's off to a good start. Senator Betty Little had led the charge for us to have an increase in the film tax credit from 15 to 25%. That would make us comparable to Saratoga and other communities. That bill has now gone on to the governor's office for consideration, and hopefully the governor will respond favorably to that.
Wonderful.
Is that am I
you're
done?
over with your time. That was
So our audio-visual effects for like keep people on track here.
I would like to just to pass out a couple of things here. We're not going to go into a lot of detail on it. Thank you. Just kind of a summary of, again, what we're looking to target for our growth, as well as for some of our So, again, this should not be anything new, but again, just to reemphasize, this is what we continue to try to focus on and work on, the medical device industry and the supply chain. In other words, some of the supplies that are being provided to C.R. Bard, to Precision Angiodynamics and Bates Medical in South Glens Falls, is to see and identify some of the supply items that perhaps are looking to expand their operations up and close to us. Healthcare we know about with Hudson Headwater, Glens Falls Hospital, forest and wood products, advanced manufacturing, adventure and outdoor recreation.
And indoor.
And indoor, at exit 18 west of the Northway coming soon. Destination tourism, the arts and entertainment, the electronics, solar, alternative energy, semiconductor industry, and products and services with green branding. One of our focuses as we close out this year and next year is going to be on the Northway exits in Warren County. What we plan on doing, if you look at page 2 and 3, is we want to, particularly the northern exits, is identify all property, determine what the zoning is, the interest of the property owners in that area, the availability of water, sewer, broadband in those areas, and generally go west and east of the exits for a considerable period of miles just to get it and log it and put together and work with GIS to come up with some mapping in the area. Because we're constantly getting requests from Empire State Development Corporation of industries of all sorts that are looking to see off of the exits. Because that's a main, obviously, transportation route to do that. So we really don't have any data on these properties at this particular point, and we need that if we're going to be aggressive and active in going forth here. So that is going to be one of our projects as we close out this year and go into next year and have that information, share that information with the supervisors and planning, as well as Empire State Development Corporation. The other project that we are continuing... Go ahead.
Ed, how are you gonna generate that information?
We're going to generate that information by doing surveys, GIS reports, and it'll all be mapped out.
So are you gonna survey the supervisors?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Yes, and particularly, we have been working with Matt and Kevin in identifying and helping us talk with some of the property owners and Craig to see what their level of interest is in selling. It does us no good to presume that they're interested in selling their property, or we may find conditions out on the property, or we may find that there's more than one owner that we need to deal with in order to get a consensus on moving forward with this property. But unless we put that together, it makes it very difficult. And then when an inquiry comes in that we feel we might have a shot at, we're just not prepared. And, you know, we just want to get more organized in that area so that information will be helpful for you guys to provide us, and Evelyn, as well as then providing it and pushing that information back out to the towns and to the county, so we have that information, you know, on hand. And so there'll be kind of a layover of what the APA land use jurisdiction is, what the property owners are, the infrastructure, and potentially identify what some products that may be best in the North Country that we can work at. Any other questions on that? Second item here is that your chairman attended a announcement by Senator Gillibrand with Dan Steck and Senator Little dealing with an increase in funding by USDA for broadband. And in discussions, I think that there is growing support on both sides of the aisle for this increase in funding to help that. That program, along with the governor's broadband program, and a third program from the Federal Communication Commission called E-Rate, which focuses on funding for schools and libraries. I believe that we are going to be able to put together a program for next year that can identify exactly what our costs are going to be, and then take that to Senator Gillibrand, take that to the governor's office, and look at the Federal Communication Program to see how we can put that together, to see exactly what the bottom line on the cost is going to be, and how much money we can expect from the federal and state government, to see if there's going to be any local share. Chances are there still will be a local share that we will have to address. Now,
E-brand?
E-Rate. E-Rate is funding for schools and libraries to do hardwire fiber optics, and the rate of reimbursement is tied into the rate of reimbursement for reduced and free lunches in the respective school districts in the area.
So so the poorer the school district, obviously, the higher the free lunch and breakfast,
Right.
the higher
The amount of...
the higher the amount that district will get to putting in.
Correct. And so the concept is that we will hardwire kind of between the schools, or the school and the library area, and then build trunks off of that through the state program and the USDA program, you know, kind of as vines, you know, growing off the mothership there. And by doing that, we're going to be able to entice the providers, because at the end of the day, the option that the county could have is to operate that as a public utility that one of the congressional candidates talked about, Matt, or to take that and work with respective providers in certain areas of the county as their gap financing. Basically, these programs are set up to assist gap financing for the providers, whether it is Frontier, whether it is Time Warner or Charter. That's really the intent of these particular programs, unless there's a desire, and that becomes the Board of Supervisors' decision, if they want to operate the system under their county. Now, obviously, you would do to a third party. Ontario County has been very successful in operating their own system out there, and they're now into 4 counties. And that is operated by Ontario County through a third-party contract, through a technical group. But that's an option, and we'll be presenting all of that information back to the board for their final decision and going forward there.
So you're talking about public schools hardwiring to the public library? Wow.
You can connect them if it's feasible,
Yeah.
and if it's nearby. In some communities may not have both a library and a school. So you can do it for a school individually, you can do it for a library individually, or you can connect them in the area. And so what we're trying to do is gather all of this information now, put together a program, meet with the providers, meet with the governor's office, come back to the board and show what these costs are going to be as they start. And at some point, put together an advisory committee through the chairman as to moving forward on the broadband program. We outlined on our last page here some of the economic impact, and we recognize that from the north part of the country of Warren County, of the tourism, hospitality, to the local businesses, healthcare, education, public safety, disaster, and second home in the particular area. While Glens Falls and Queensbury look for more high-speed, the focus of this program is really to ensure that communities in the North Country have an opportunity to experience fiber optics and utilize that as well. And we continue to work with the emergency personnel in terms of where there's some areas that we could tighten up some cell coverage. And there are some more technical issues involved with the emergency folks and placement of providers, private providers on towers, but they seem to be working through that in other areas of the state to do that. So that is a rundown. I just wanted to highlight the exit study as well as the broadband, which seems to be coming together so that we're able to coordinate and put the pressure on the providers collectively through the county and through Senator Little's office and Dan, along with Senator Gillibrand, who seems to be taking the lead on this now. And I believe that there will be support coming forth from the House of Representatives in sponsorship of this bill as well, on a bipartisan basis. That's the positive thing. Senator Gillibrand has Republican senator from West Virginia that is supporting that. She's a leading supporter of broadband in West Virginia, and we just, after the election, we'll see on sponsorship on the Republican side of the House as well, around the country. Nobody has signed up yet on that side. Those are my items.
Yeah, I thought there was a very good representation of Warren County supervisors in attendance, Ed, so I think one of the obvious problem that I think communities face is just cost, I think. That seems to be the biggest issue, so maybe the senator hopefully has a program that can get us halfway there. So.
I think it's helpful, and again, that's one piece. Another piece is the E-rate program, and another piece is the Governor Cuomo's, program. And I know Kevin and others that attend these meetings continue to put the pressure on the broadband office for further assistance in this area. But I think it's beginning to have a clearer picture of where we're going to have this gap funding, and then sitting down with Prime Link here and Charter and other players in the business. Prime Link has made a commitment to provide some assistance in certain areas. And Senator Gillibrand went up to Plattsburgh and toured the Prime Link facilities after our news conference in Glens Falls. But it was great to have her in town to put her stamp of approval. You know, she is going to basically saying that you know, she's going to own this issue in the sense that she's going to be responsible for trying to increase the funding in USDA. It's a necessity. It's not a luxury, as we all know.
Any,
Yep.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, Ron, you want to announce to committee where Inter-County's going to go next month?
Oh, okay, yeah.
We're going to showcase one of our businesses.
Yeah, we're gonna go to Angiodynamics catheter industry, and then we're gonna have lunch at the Aviator restaurant at the airport. So it'll be coffee and donuts at Angio, and a tour of their facility, and then lunch at Aviator, which actually will help us showcase the airport too.
You know, so Ron put this whole thing together. We talked about it on the way back, and he was able to make it happen in a day or so. So we appreciate that, and that's one of the industries we have here that we kind of take for granted, you know. But we'll be able to tour one of our catheter plants.
And if those that attended Phil Morris's speaking engagement at the EDC, when you go through there, which Ron has invited me on the tour, thank you, Ron. There you will see a number of Phil Morris's inventions and patents as you walk through that building. Phil owns he owns 25% of Angio and has several patents, so he is able to reap the benefits of his hard work in his earlier career. And we're very deeply disappointed that the Red Sox did not make it playoff our way.
Okay, anything else? Good, go ahead, Matt?
Up at exit 25, there's that commercial property,
Which one?
you know, the one right there between Stewart's and Northway, on the
Yes.
north side of Route 8.
Yeah.
Two pieces right there.
Right.
Is there been any?
I actually met with the owner of one of the pieces of property that has where the former, you know, Dairy Queen.
Yeah.
And that back piece of
Coca-Cola and Dairy
Coca-Cola
Queen.
is back in there about potential development. There's also another piece of property that is representing that they are looking, they're in the field of architect background, and we're going to be meeting with them. They're looking to develop some kind of tourist destination type of restaurant along tourist stop, if you will, in that. It's been difficult trying to get some funding for those kind of projects, as well as they like to see if we're going to apply for state funds, what the plan is, you know, for that particular, you know, area. So that is definitely something that we want to do. And getting all this information is going to make a lot easier for the supervisors, as well as for EDC to be able to promote these properties. Right now, we probably get one or two announcements in a week that we just aren't able to comply with. And the other area that I've talked about in the past is we have no warehouse inventory in Warren County that is of good quality. And so what we have to do is we're working with contractors now to see if, and a local bank or two, to see if they are willing on a rush basis, if they can make the deal happen to be able to go out on pieces of property that's been selected and start construction right away. That's really one of the areas. Warehousing is important because it supports some of our manufacturing in the area. Warehousing just by itself, you know, unless you get into huge amounts like what's going on at exit 16, you don't have a lot of employment unless it's a huge building like Target or Ace buildings down there. But we don't have for the smaller business any warehousing in the area.
Anything else? Can we get a motion to adjourn? Supervisor Wood, seconded by Supervisor Beatty. All those in favor? Aye. Why don't we just jump into LDC if we can? Try.
There's been a hold up on that property, do you know?
You know, I think that
No.
they talked, but they
Brought up